Hey Fish Fam, this is Nikachu Merfolk Master, and we are back with the budget version of Mono Blue Merfolk. Poor Folk has got all the power that you could possibly want to still 5-0. We've done that. We've done it before, but it's cheap. It is just a little bit over $100 online, and if you want insights into Modern through the lens of a Merfolk player, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Before we get into our deck tech, we're going to thank our sponsors, starting with themanabase.com. And, you know, we're all looking for a little bit of positivity in this dark, gloomy era of the coronavirus. If you want some more enlightening content, go check out Ryan Penoff's podcast about how to find positivity in your MTG community, only on themanabase.com, your home base for everything Magic the Gathering, and the MTG Mastermind, the coaching program to help take your game to the next level. You're going to be stuck at home, so this is a great time to upgrade your game at Magic the Gathering. Learn from them at the MTG Mastermind. And I've got new patrons supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, all my patrons. So I'd love to thank very much to Handsome Dan, who raised his pledge on Patreon. I would also like to thank Al Corrals for making a pledge on Patreon. I'm going to also thank very much to Ethan Laus. We're going to thank Matt. And lastly, we're going to thank Thomas Griffin. Thank you all so much for your support on Patreon. Keeping the Merfolk and high-quality modern content coming. So this is what we're going to do from now on. I know a good chunk of my viewers, they want to say, hey, what's the most razor-sharp, cutthroat version of Merfolk we can play in today's competitive modern metagame? That's going to be the Simic version. And, you know, with no limits on budget, we play with Force Negations and Brazen Borrowers. But for people who are interested in getting into Modern, or even still keeping up with Merfolk in Modern, we've got this list. And like I said, this is still competitive for a lot of reasons. For example, like I said, I don't think Deprive is very much far off from the power of Force of Negation. Now, it's pending what's going on in the metagame. It may or may there may be more or less of a shift. Like, I think the more Tron and Dredge that there is in the metagame, the more important Force of Negation is. But the less that less those archetypes matter, Deprive can become worth more because, you know, especially when you're up against Bant Control, I would prefer to have a card that can counter the creatures. Things like Uro, things like Ice Fang Quaddle, and Snapcaster Mage. I think Deprive is very valuable in today's metagame. But I don't have any room for it in the Simic deck because I need to play Force of Negation. And the only thing I want, where I really want Force Negation to shine is like against Dredge, where I can counter a Cathartic Reunion very early, Shriekhorn, or even a Conflagrate while I tap out to play my creatures. And same thing against Tron decks, being able to counter Expedition Map, Sylvan Scrying while playing creatures on the earlier portions of the game will help me like get really far ahead. Whereas Deprive, you have to hold up mana, and against both those decks, you just don't have as much time to do it. But still, this deck, more or less, has everything you want. We still have 1-drops. We still have a good chunk of Lords. I actually think Mara Regery is well-positioned in today's metagame. I think this is... it's worth the 3 mana. It's not as clunky as it used to be. Not to mention, Burn is rising up in numbers. I mean, before, it was, like, Mono Red Prowess is just the deck to go to if you want to play an aggro red deck. Burn is coming up big time. And the blue deck is just going to be superior against that because we don't take damage from our lands. We're not fetching, we're not shocking with Breeding Pool, we don't take damage from the Horizon lands. So if Burn keeps rising up into the metagame, Mono Blue just might be the thing to go to. So the other so for the most part, I don't think I'm making any concession with this deck, except we're playing with Deprive over Force Negation, which you said is not a big deal. But Brazen Borrower is a bit of a big deal because there's a more and more Karn the Great Creator decks coming about, and having a way to beat Ensnaring Bridge is going to be important. I'm just going to be cold to Ensnaring Bridge. If they play it, we lose. I would rather play with... I don't want to play with Echoing Truth. I think a good card is Cryptic Command. I like having that in the sideboard. You can also play with Venser, but I just don't want to play with those cards right now. Also, I'm trying to keep this budget, so... So in placement of Brazen Barber, we got Harbinger of the Tides and Nimble Obstructionist. Why do I want Nimble Obstructionist? Because I want a little bit of diversity in the creature types that I play when I'm up against a Plague Engineer. So if our opponent, either Death Shadow or Jund, which is very popular, plays Plague Engineer, names Merfolk, we can still play Nimble Obstructionist, a Bird Wizard, and just attack in the air, 3 damage, 3 damage, 3 damage, and close the game out like that. What else do I like about this list? Hey, Castle Ventress is a good card. I mean, it's a pretty good replacement for, say, Horizon Lands. This will, if you have an Ether Vial and this thing active, you will just play a spell for the rest of the game. I would argue that on an empty board, or a board that's parity, if you've got like 4 mana and Castle Ventress and an Ether Vial, you're just favored to win, because you will play a threat every single turn. You will always scry something to the top of your deck that you just vial in play for the rest of the game, and your opponent is doomed to hit a blank once in a while, whether they draw land or they draw like a dead Inquisition of Kozilek in the end. So Castle Ventress, very well suited to this deck. It's like, I guess it's like our budget Horizon Land. It's our budget Horizon Land. And everything is still pretty cheap in this deck. When I first posted it, it was $100. Now, the last time I saw it's about $110. Oh, by the way, like, you add another $10 if you play the snow-covered islands, but you don't need to play with them. Just play with regular islands. I'm just playing with them because I own them. If you own them, play them. If you don't own them, screw them. Don't play snow-covered islands. I think 13 of them, they cost like $1. Sorry, they cost like $11, so they're like close to $1 a piece. You don't need to play that. Got Tidebinder Mage, pretty good right now. Hits Mono Red Prowess, hits Burn, hits Jund, hits it can hit a little bit of humans too. I like how it does hit Noble Hierarch, hits Mantis Rider. What else in that matchup? I mean, those are two pretty important cards. Maybe one card that's probably the weakest in this list is Ashiok. They're not what they used to be, because I'm seeing a little bit less Amulet, even though I don't think I should. Or maybe it's people like me that are keeping Amulet down because I'm still playing with Ashiok. But at the same time, if I took out Ashiok for, say, Grafdigger's Cage, and I still do believe I need some graveyard hate for the random times I'm playing against Dredge. I don't know if I have enough cards to bring in against Blue-Eye Control. I mean, I could bring in Master of Waves, but I don't know. Maybe Master of Waves is good against sorry, not Blue-Eye Control, Bant Control with Uro. Maybe Master of Waves is good to bring in, because they only have like so many Path to Exile, so many Supreme Verdicts. If they don't get rid of Master of Waves, they're doomed. But I really like the idea of playing Ashiok, preventing our opponent from ever getting a substantial graveyard to get the Uro in play. So yeah, that is the deck tech. Let's get into our league. We lost the die roll, but I think we can keep this hand. We have a turn 1 play with Dismember, and no matter what we draw, we can at least play Silvergill Adept. So we've got like 3 draws to get the double blue sources for these creatures. We'll keep the mulligans. And I would be pretty confident with Merfolk these days. We're getting more and more 5-0s being published, probably because of the attrition-based decks that are running around. That's very interesting. Does this mean Dredge? They're all playing Island and Pass. I want to say this is like they're going to play Haggle at end of turn or something. Oh, a Living End. It's been a while. So our hand is pretty terrible against Living End. We should have more fight post board. This is definitely a match where you might want Force of Negation. Well, I keep healing lands. What to start off with, though? If I can get our opponent to Living End very early, I mean, I can dismember like one of their creatures. That wouldn't be too bad. We can like Merfolk Trickster a bunch of other ones. So let's trying to think. If I peel like Island Deprive then I'm going to want to play like Silvergill Adapt on turn 4. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Because I definitely can't guarantee that at all. I'll just play the... I think I'm just going to play my creatures. I'm going to show Trickster. Let them know that I can do stuff at end of turn. Although I don't know if it's going to be good for me. So at the time that I'm recording this, like, Ikoria is not out yet. Probably, I mean, it shouldn't anyway. Like, spoilers just started. But maybe people are testing Living End to say, hey, maybe this deck is still good. Because there's a bunch of cycling cards coming out in Ikoria. Benthic Biomancer is saddening to see, because I'm going to need an island to cast this plus something else. So they're just going to go for it here, it looks like. Which is not the end of the world. It looks like there's only 3 cards coming back. And we can deal with it because of the Merfolk Trickster. And the Dismember. So, I mean, I'm going to kill one of these 6/4 creatures. But, of course, the next problem is, you know, what... And I'm a relatively high life total, too. Okay, so I keep peeling lands. So, given that I've got so many double blue spells in my hand, I'm going to play the island... with the hope that I can draw another island and I can play Lord and like Trickster at the same time. And you know, next turn, if I don't draw a land, I can still play Benthic Biomancer off of the island. So one good thing here is our opponent did do a good number to their own life total already, or they're at 13. I mean, we're about to go to 13, but you know, it's not unrealistic that we could race this. If they don't have another Cascade spell in their hand, we can race. I'll take 3, I can take another 9 next turn, and then our opponent will be dead by the following turn. I mean, I don't even have to take damage next turn if I don't want to. Okie dokie, so... maybe I should keep a Trickster again, just in case they play another Living End, and they bring back one of these things. So let's attack for 3, and I guess I'll play Benthic Biomancer off of the Mutavault, and I'll take, it looks like 9 damage. And I will have lethal by next turn. Beast Within, that seems ridiculous, but sure. Now this does change a little bit. I didn't get any damage in this turn. I'm still going to hold my Merfolk Trickster, though. Okay, I'll play the Mutavault and the Benthic Biomancer. Good question. Are we threatening lethal by next turn? We are? Assuming they can't block. And the next time they Living End, it's not going to be that great. We're gonna get 2 creatures out of the deal, and they're just going to get, what, 1? I mean, all that can change really fast if they start cycling stuff. I might have to use my Trickster soon. Okay, I'll just take the 9. I'll go to 4. Now, you've got to be very careful because they've got, what's it called? That Outburst card. Is it Outburst? Demonic Dread. Very Macabre. That is nasty. Okay, so I might not survive another Living End. The next Living End is going to bring up 2 creatures I cannot exactly deal with at the moment. One interesting thing is if they pass the turn, I could activate Benthic Biomancer and discard a creature into the graveyard, but they're not going to give me that opportunity, it looks like. Oh, Fulminator Mage, okay. That is very interesting. Can I win from this position? This is... I'm short a little bit. I'm just short a little bit. I am short. I could play Trickster, tap. But they're gonna blow up the Mutavault. Well, okay, hold on. If I play Trickster, can I possibly win? This is just 5-10? No, I can't win. 6, 9. No, I can't. I can't win this turn. It's impossible. So let's just attack with everything. They can block and blow up my Mutavault. They might not. Okay. Goodbye, Mutavault. Take 6 damage. All right. Let's hope there's no Demonic Dread up their sleeves. Sometimes you just gotta make them have it. You know? You just have to make them have it. I'm under some impression that maybe they're not in very good shape since they use that Beast Within in such a bizarre way. Gain of control of target creature or vehicle until end of turn. Untap it, gains haste. So, and I can't block it. But I think, oh, you may cast a card with convert mana cost 2 or less in your hand without paying its mana cost. Okay. So they don't do anything. So that's gonna end up being good for us because now we can Trickster the this thing. And then we can block the Street Wraith. So that just worked out perfectly. Okay, they attack for 3, no big deal. Yeah, you have to attack with both. So I get this back, and it is way more than enough damage. That was cute! That was very cute. Not cute enough. Everyone can see Salud there? This is Salud. There's a Salud here. You want to hear Salud make a noise? It's time to go meow, Salud. It's time to go meow. Anyone hear that? He will always make a noise when you touch him. He's just sleeping, and then you touch him, he'll make some cry. I don't know what our opponent's doing now. Now they're like, what do I do? What do I do? How did this happen? How did we get to this spot? They might not have had anything to do, you know. That, I mean, that's just sometimes how it goes. Based, like, if you have to beast within my creature, they probably did not have another Cascade spell. They were in, after they Fairy Macabre our creatures in the graveyard, they were in a great spot to living end again. A great spot. And just wipe the board, have 3 random creatures, not Fulminator Mage, but the Desert Ceradon, the Fairy Macabre, or maybe that was it. That's all they would have had. But 2 versus nothing? Not bad. Maybe our opponent's salty. Maybe our opponent did have a way of playing Living End. Anyway, so we're going to get our creature back. We're going to attack for, what, 10? And we win. Alright. I did not skip through my turn. So what do we want against them? So I don't mind having some spreading seizes. Like, as you saw in that game, there are situations where they just roadblock the battlefield and you don't really have any good way of getting through. So having a few spreading seizes are good, but I don't find... It's not a good way of mana screwing them, so I don't like the full 4. Deprive is good, because just having counterspells in general are good. Tidebinder Mage is good, because if they living end those, like, big 6/4 red creatures, tap it down. Just tap that damn thing down. I'm asking the audience here, does Damping Sphere interact favorably against a living end? Does that work? So if they're tapped out, they play the Cascade spell and they're tapped out, do they need to pay another one when the living end comes? Like, I think so. I think so. Okay, definitely we're bringing in Relic. It's good that we actually... And we have the Ashok, so Ashok is good too. Master of Waves is like... I'm not thrilled with it. Oh! Nimble Obstructionist, we can counter the Cascade. That's sick. Alright, so that's great. Cards that are not good. Harbinger is awful. Dismember is... It actually helped us in that game, but it's not that good. Trickster is actually not the most amazing card either. Neither is Rajiri, because it just costs 3 mana. 3 mana is not good. Yeah, I don't want to be too heavy. This matchup really isn't about Lords. It's about... What's going on here? Stop it. The matchup is just about, like, playing some cards and then slowly chipping away damage. Stop it! What is going on here? Oh my god. I hate when this happens, but usually it goes away. Okay, well, anyway, the matchup is not about, like, you know, lording them out. It's about chipping away damage here and there slowly. Keep up mana for your Relic of Progenitus. Keep up mana for your Deprive for that living end. I mean, don't be afraid to get in some damage early on, but you later on in the game, you don't want to really tap out unless you have to. And I think Ashok is going to be really good here, because on the earlier portions of the game, they are definitely, what's it called? On the earlier turns of the game, our opponent is definitely going to be cycling cards in order to enable their living end, and also just dig through their deck for the necessary spells, like the Cascade spells. I will say, this deck is not like Merfolk versus Living End. There's definitely some skill to the matchup for both sides. I would say against a very good Living End player who's managing their resources very carefully, not going completely all in. That player is dangerous. It's very difficult to beat. It can be difficult to beat them, where they're basically always holding up instant speed, end of turn, like Supreme Verdict. This hand's like just doesn't have mana, so we have to mulligan. That's really clunky. I mean, it's 3 drops. I wouldn't mind the 2 Ashoks, but at least I need some mana. Like, if I had one more land, I would keep this. This hand looks good. Nimble Obstructionist, counter the Cascade spell. That'd be brilliant. Keep. Snap, keep. I'll have to put something on the bottom. Spreading Seas, because we're on the draw. Ha! They have Fulminator Mage. You have no power here, Fulminator Mage. No power here! Insert Lord of the Rings meme. You're not going to get the value that you thought you were going to get. So, like, is Living End gonna come back? Well, we have to wait and see what comes out from the spoilers, because cycling is a thing, and as there are more cycling cards, this deck can continue to get upgraded. But the problem for Living End is that there is an even more dangerous graveyard-oriented deck in the metagame, and that is Dredge. It's just Dredge, and then if people are preparing for Dredge, well, you're screwed. You're just outright screwed. There's only one sideboard card that is favorable against, like, there's only one sideboard card that Living End is favorable against that Dredge isn't, and that's Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage does not interact with Living End, because Living End exiles the creatures, then puts them onto the battlefield, so they're not coming back from the graveyard. So, like, they can beat that, but they can't beat Rest in Peace, or Relic, or Ashiok, or Leyline of the Void. Those are all terrible cards to see. I mean, they've got answers to some artifacts, like they'll play Ingature for Relic of Progenitus, but like what I'm saying, in the grand scheme of things, if people bring the graveyard hate, they're just going to wipe this deck out. Unless there are some good new cards, like, I don't know, you cycle the creature and it destroys target enchantment. That might be very valuable to the Living End deck, where they can destroy Rest in Peace, Leyline of the Void, and stuff like that. I think our opponent is either multi-queuing, or I don't think they're multi-queuing. I think they're just, you know, I don't think they're new to Magic the Gathering Online. This name is very familiar. Maybe they're lagging hard. I was lagging hard last week. Like, I updated as many things as I could. And the funny thing, though, is like, the gameplay didn't lag with the audio. It was my webcam. My webcam, like, so the thing that was happening to my webcam last week is it would, like, get really slow compared to how I was talking, and then it would start speeding up, and then it was terrible to watch. It was a complete eyesore to stare at. So the current plan is just play Silvergill Adapt, and yeah, and then probably I'm gonna, like, hit my opponent as many times as I can. The plan may not work out perfectly, though. Remember, like, they can play at instant speed, so they can go, like, end of turn. Actually, I probably, the plan is play Silvergill Adept into Merfolk Trickster and hope they don't play an instant speed Cascade spell. I don't think they're both instant speed. I think one of them is sorcery, if I'm not mistaken. What's it called? Violent Outburst. Demonic Dread is sorcery, so they only have 4. Look, they're doing this again. They're shocking themselves. Of course, they're going to cycle something. So Violent Outburst is instant speed, Demonic Dread. So but the point is, they could play end of turn Violent Outburst, make me cycle, counter the Cascade spell, and then on their turn they play another one anyway, and they've got me. So I actually have to put some power on the battlefield. I will go turn 2 Silvergill Adept, turn 3 Merfolk Trickster, and then hold up these things, because otherwise at 2 damage a turn, countering anything isn't going to do it, because I'll just counter one and they'll just follow it up with another one. So our opponent isn't doing a whole lot, but I hope I am still letting you know the ropes, how to beat Living End. It comes up every so often. It's a very, you know what? When I'm up against a good Living End player, it's a very interesting match. It's not a match that you can just push them over. There are some players that are like, okay, I'm just gonna cycle everything into the graveyard, and then I just like play Relic, crack it, wipe you their entire graveyard, and then they're just dead. And then there are Living End players. They might put one thing in the graveyard, and now they're ready to wipe my board, or they know that they can buy a lot of time because they can cascade at instant speed. So like I'm under the situation where I play a Silvergill Adept on turn 2, but I have no good clock. I have a 10-turn clock. So I need to sort of tap out to get another creature in play. And when I do that, that's when they decide, okay, do you know what? I'm going to cycle a few more cards, now Living End, and wipe your entire board. And then if I don't tap out, then they just have more time to slowly make land drops. I mean, there's definitely the situation where they just go land drop, land drop, land drop, and then they just start casting these things. You know, once they hit 5 mana, they can start just cast the spells. That's totally a line too. So it's a very interesting matchup when you're up against a really good player. It's a very interesting matchup. Our opponent apologizes for the connection. It's all good. I know your pain. Yeah, I mean, I recognize the username. This is not a new username. Last week it was us. This week it's them. What's going on, Magic the Gathering Online? What's going on? That being said, I just updated it. Like, I got a new update today, so maybe that's explaining why our performance is now relatively good compared to last week. Last week was bad. Last week was miserable. It was on par to like a big iOS update. If you make that big iOS update for your iPhone, for the first month, it's all glitchy and nonsense. A lot of things don't work anymore. You're better off waiting for the update to the update, like a month later. That's what I tell my parents to do. Don't get the first update. You just wait. Just wait. Let people like me figure out all the bugs and report them to Apple. What a riveting game. At the very least, well, I mean, at the very least, we're gonna win on time. Because I don't think if our opponent has a pace like this, there's like not a damn chance that they're going to win by game 3. But I would really like to see how well Nimble Obstructionist does here. This is almost like a hard counter. 3 mana, but we draw a card. So, you know, pretty good, not bad. Not bad at all. I love it. And of course, if they've got the source, if they got, like, was it Demonic Dread? If they got Demonic Dread, which is the sorcery speed one, that's going to be a super blowout because we get them hard with this Nimble Obstructionist. But we are on the draw, so I mean that could be like the most dominant factor to us getting crushed. Because we could go turn 2 Silvergill Adept, like cycle, untap, Demonic Dread, wipe our 1 creature off the battlefield, put like 3 creatures in play, and it's over. If I were to draw a Deprive, probably I will pass the turn. I won't tap out. Oh! Look what happened. Well, now what do I do? This actually is very complicated now because I need to put pressure on the battlefield. And I don't have any good way of beating this thing once it enters the battlefield. Alright, let's pass. They're clearly going to cycle something because they didn't do anything on the pass turn. And then maybe I'll play like Nimble Obstructionist at end of turn. Because we only lose... Like, we're only losing to Violent Outburst, which can be cast at instant speed. But we can beat Demonic Dread. And so if we can't beat... Like, if we can't beat Violent Outburst, then I think we just have to run into it. Let me know in the comments section below if you like the 1 game a day. We're going back to 1 game a day, one match a day. The 1 match a day format. Make me part of your daily routine once again. Basically, it's always something going to be uploaded every single day. You don't forget to come back to Nikachu MTG. I know how much people missed the 1 game a day format, but the problem with the 1 game a day format in the past was that all the thumbnails were the same, and the titles were basically the same. It's just that the episode in part might be different. But if I'm in like suggested feed on YouTube, or if you're just browsing YouTube, you're like, I think I saw this video before. I don't need to watch it, so you would just skip it. So in order to always get your viewership, no matter what the video was, I have to have unique thumbnails and unique titles from now on. So I am doing that. I'm going back to that. Or I'm not going. I mean, this is just something I'm doing new now, and that allows us to, play the deck. Play the deck 1 game a day, or 1 match a day. I mean, this game's over. Our opponent's gonna like disconnect. In some ways, I can say we're gonna be victorious anyway, because look at all these great counter spells we have in our hand. But it's almost like our opponent's computer is dying. I don't even know if we can blame this on the connection. Like, they were in the beginning playing at a reasonable pace, and then it's getting slower and slower, and computer is like probably rumbling now, and then the smoke and the steam is coming out of it, and then the moment our opponent disconnects, that's when we know it went boom, or psh, just falls apart. Oh, our opponent takes a turn. Amazing. No cycling. Probably not there. They probably wanted to do something and they just didn't do it. One possibility is that they've got, like, I don't know, a lot of artifact destruction in their hand, like ingot chewers galore. Ingot chewers! Chew up my relic, like they always do. I don't know what it is. I have not let a relic, like, survive to turn 3 in ever. I don't know. Ever since that they have Ingot Chewer in their deck, they always draw it against me. And I understand they've got a bunch of cycling cards that they can dig for it. I don't care. They always have it. I have never won with Relic for like 5 or 6 years. There was a time before Modern was super popular that Relic was incredibly good against Living End, and then since then they have drawn Ingot Chewer at every moment that I have a Relic of Progenitus. I literally need to top deck a second Relic of Progenitus to undermine the Ingot Chewer that ate the first one. It's the only way. That's the only way it happens. It's the only way it works. Oh, we got a third land. Oh, it's there. Well, I'm going to be pretty comfortable. I mean, once I play Trickster at end of turn, and then Castle Vantress, and then we're only 1 land away. Oh no, we're actually not one. Ooh. Casting the Silvergill Adept is going to be difficult. I might just have to play a Nimble Obstructionist at end of turn, so that I have a reasonable clock. Maybe they have Fulminator Mages in their hand. They obviously have some sort of clunky hand. They also have a clunky internet connection. We can all admit that. Clunky internet connection. This game's going longer than I wanted it to, but you know what? It's okay. Okay, let's go. Merfolk Trickster at end of turn. They have F6, so I do draw a Silvergill Adept. That's good. That's good, because when we draw our next land, then we can cast that Silver Gill Adept, show the other Silver Gill Adept, and continue to apply pressure. Like I said, this is a 9-turn clock. This is not going to do it. Our opponent will, at some point, catch up. But I have so many counterspells in my hand, I might as well like throw a Nimble Obstructionist out there. Just watch, they're probably going to play like Fulminator Mage next turn to hit the Castle Vantress. If they do that, I'll just play a Nimble Obstructionist, because we still have 2 islands for Deprive, and it's just important to have a better clock on the battlefield. If I get a Nimble Obstructionist on the battlefield, that's a 3-turn clock. That's reasonable. But don't forget, they can hard cast their creatures. Like, that's another thing. You against Living End, you think you could be patient, but then all of a sudden they just go like this hard cast a 5-power creature, 6-power creature, and they're like, oh, that can happen. Or they can play that If Near card, which is like a 5/4 for 5 mana, and whenever they cycle, you know, all your opponent's creatures get a -1/-1 counter, which is just brutal. Oh, they're going for it. They're doing something. They are going for it. Okay, so, well, we don't have anything else to do, so let's just counter it. And interesting, it puts a creature, I didn't even think about this, because I'm cycling this, it puts the creature in the graveyard. So, if they do pull off a Living End, I'm going to get a 3/1 creature. Nimble Obstructionist is like the anti-Living End card. Like, it's not clear at all that they're going to race us, even if they were to cast Living End right now. Ah, boo! How dare you? Alright, so they're going to get 2 creatures. Still not the end of the world, but, well, it's not good. Our one main advantage is that our opponent is very low on life. So they cannot all-out attack us. That is a very interesting card. Do I have anything at instant speed that would help me here? Well, I don't think I want to play Rajiri by itself, so I'm not. Let's see what we draw. It's like Trickster, it might be good. Like anything that slows our opponent down is going to be very good here. Not Trickster, but yeah. Okay, so we'll just play this. I'm not in any big fear of a second Living End right now, so I don't mind tapping out and not using our Deprive. And just pass. So we can take 8. We go to like 12. No big deal. They are at best like a 3-turn clock. If they tap the Grove for mana, it's even better for us. So here's where they might just start hard casting cards at 5 mana. Uh-oh, this might not be good. Oh, Shriekmaw. Okay, Shriekmaw is fine. Well, I wouldn't say Shriekmaw is good, but it could have been worse. It could have been that Archfiend. What is this? Fear. Artifact creatures or black creatures. So we can't block this. So we take 8, go to 12, 11 power, so we're not dead yet. That was the nuts. So I could attack for 2, or I could play Rajiri and then tap something down. I can tap 2 things down. Still not... We have 2 creatures in the graveyard. Okay, I'll play Rajiri. Oh, that was a mistake! Whatever. I'll attack for 3. They might block. That's fine. Is it fine? Maybe it's not fine. Because when they living end again... Well, if they block, then they cannot go for lethal at all next turn. Okay, so I'll draw 2 cards if they living end again. And we will pass. And I might like this spot. I might like this spot enough that I won't play Merfolk Trickster. Another Shriekmaw. We have to deprive this. That's a little bit too much for me. So they can attack for 8. That's fine. We go to 4. We attack for 2. Merfolk Trickster is going to deal with both of them next turn, and we can hold up Nimble Obstructionist as well for any future nonsense. So even though our opponent is doing a lot of stuff, we actually are in reasonable position to win. Anyway. Spreading Seas, does that help at all? They have red, they've got black, they have everything, so I'm just not going to waste my mana doing that. Tap this. That's the beauty of Trickster combined with Merfolk. That's the beauty. And then we'll just tap down the Fairy Macabre when Trickster enters the battlefield. And mind you, I mean, I can attack with... Well, what am I going to do for my next turn? Like, I could play Nimble Obstructionist right now. Well, anyway, our opponent just resigns because they have 10 seconds left on the clock. What was our next few cards? So, okay, so let's think about what would we do if they just pass. Because if I play Nimble Obstructionist, if I just hard cast it, I'm in a good spot to win the game. If I don't, I can attack with Rajiri. I get a few draw steps because I could cast Spreading Seas. Problem is if I can't... Okay, I'll tell you what. If they pass, then we only lose to Violent Outburst, so I would cast the Nimble Obstructionist to have enough power on the battle. No, I actually have Lethal. I have Lethal, right? So I would just force them to have a removal spell, or they lose. So that would definitely be the plan. What would be my next 2 cards, just in case? Battle Mage is, like, okay for this spot. If I draw into that, that's also okay, but not great. But so if they don't have an answer to Nimble Obstructionist, they were going to lose that game anyway. But you can see the dynamic, like how dynamic this matchup can be. You know, you think you can be patient, but then they just start casting the damn things from their hand, which is also very good. But that's our matchup for today. So we're going to thank all my patrons supporting me on Patreon. We're also going to thank the ManaBase.com and the MTG Mastermind for being our sponsors. This has been Nikachu playing Mono Blue Merfolk on a budget in Modern.